Yesterday, before reading Genesis 38, I talked about the idea of starting to mix up the text a little bit. I talked about finishing Genesis, and then before going into Exodus, starting it to read a little bit from Matthew and the Psalms and the Proverbs. But upon further thinking, I decided to actually start that now. So I'm going to take a break from Genesis for a little bit and start intermingling some of these other chapters. When I go back to Genesis, I'll recount where we were at, and I'll also, as I go back and forth to Matthew, or I diverge between a few books, I will relay a little background in the beginning of where we were at last time. So it's interesting as we begin Matthew chapter 1. This is another chapter with a lot of names. The New Testament doesn't have too many of these, just a couple really. But it starts out with the genealogy, and for 18 verses, and the last 7 verses are a little bit of a narrative of the Nativity, part of the Nativity. And it's interesting. We finished Genesis 38 yesterday. Genesis 37, the day before, we had the dreams of Joseph, the Joseph with the multicolored robe or coat. And just 2 days later, as we do Matthew 1, we're going to have another Joseph with a dream here, but this is a different Joseph and a different dream. So kind of funny doing it this way, 2 days apart, 2 Josephs that have dreams. But here we go, Matthew chapter 1. An account of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham fathered Isaac. Isaac fathered Jacob. Jacob fathered Judah and his brothers. Judah fathered Perez and Zerah by Tamar. Side note, that was Genesis 38 that we just read yesterday that had that account. Perez fathered Hezron. Hezron fathered Aram. Aram fathered Amminadab. Amminadab fathered Nahshon. Nahshon fathered Salmon. Salmon fathered Boaz by Rahab. Boaz fathered Obed by Ruth. Obed fathered Jesse. And Jesse fathered King David. David fathered Solomon by Uriah's wife. Solomon fathered Rehoboam. Rehoboam fathered Abijah. Abijah fathered Asa. Asa fathered Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat fathered Joram. Joram fathered Uzziah. Uzziah fathered Jotham. Jotham fathered Ahaz. Ahaz fathered Hezekiah. Hezekiah fathered Manasseh. Manasseh fathered Ammon. Ammon fathered Josiah. And Josiah fathered Jeconiah and his brothers at the time of the exile to Babylon. After the exile to Babylon, Jeconiah fathered Shealtiel. Shealtiel fathered Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel fathered Abiud. Abiud fathered Eliakim. Eliakim fathered Azor. Azor fathered Zadok. Zadok fathered Akim. Akim fathered Eliud. Eliud fathered Eleazar. Eleazar fathered Mathan. Mathan fathered Jacob, and Jacob fathered Joseph, the husband of Mary, who gave birth to Jesus, who is called the Christ. So all the generations from Abraham to David were 14 generations, and from David until the exile to Babylon, 14 generations, and from the exile to Babylon until the Christ, 14 generations. The birth of Jesus Christ came about this way. After his mother Mary had been engaged to Joseph, it was discovered before they came together that she was pregnant from the Holy Spirit. So her husband Joseph, being a righteous man and not wanting to disgrace her publicly, decided to divorce her secretly. But after she had considered these things, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, saying, Joseph, son of David, don't be afraid to take Mary as your wife, because what has been conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son, and you are to name him Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins. Now all this took place to fulfill what was spoken by the Lord through the prophet. See, the virgin will become pregnant and give birth to a son, and they will name him Emmanuel, which is translated God is with us. When Joseph woke up, he did as the Lord's angel had commanded him. He married her, but did not have sexual relations with her until she gave birth to a son, and he named him Jesus.